Hey everyone, my name is Laura Stephen. I'm one of the teachers that teach psychology here at Richard Taunton Sixth Form College. And I'm just going to introduce by telling you a little bit about myself. I have been teaching 14 years and I've taught psychology and criminology in that time, as well as a bit of ESOL, so English speaking as a second language. I specialise mostly in psychology, but I have worked and developed with criminology at the college. I absolutely love psychology. I think it's a fantastic subject. It's versatile. It gives students a broad experience, not just with sort of teaching styles and methods, but also the content. One week you'll be doing statistics, the next week you'll be learning about obedience, the next week you'll be learning about mental health, and it is a real varied course in the different kinds of topics that it allows students to explore. I did psychology as a degree at Portsmouth University many years ago. And when I was there, I was really interested in the criminal side of psychology and also the clinical and counselling side. So I decided that I'd like to specialise in education. And originally, I wanted to work with special needs students. And as soon as I started teaching, I realised that that was my career. I love teaching. I love being in the classroom. I love the experience that I have daily with students. No day is the same. And teaching psychology has just become a real passion for me. So I am also a qualified counsellor and a qualified hypnotherapist, and I did that a few years back. So the pastoral side of teaching is really important to me. I always want to make sure that students enjoy their experiences, but also feel safe and feel cared for and supported. Our other teacher, Paula, and Paula is new here at the college. She just joined us this year, and she's been teaching for 6 years, teaching psychology for 6 years, and she particularly likes social psychology and is completing her master's as well at the moment. So we both come from very different sort of backgrounds, and we have different interests and sort of specialties in the subject, and that is brought into the course for you. Okay, so the overview of psychology, as you can see on the slide, psychology is a science. It's the scientific study of mind and behaviour, and we teach it in a scientific discipline. So you will learn key psychological research, and you learn it in a scientific process. We take you through aims, method, sample, procedure, all the way to conclusions. And you also learn research methodology. So you will look at key research, how it's designed, how you conduct it, and throughout all of that, we apply it to the real world. And the second year is very much about application. So it is an A-level, it's a 2-year course, and you'll have 3 exams at the end of your 2 years. It's 100% exam based. And you do need to have 5 GCSEs at grade 5 or above, and those must include a grade 5 in maths, science, and English. The reason for that is 10% of your grade comes from maths in psychology. So we do sort of go back to the basics a little bit, but you need to be confident at the end of the 2 years with statistics, why they're conducted, when they're conducted, the basic processes in them, data analysis mostly, interpreting data graphs, that kind of thing. Science, as again I said, it is a science, and if you haven't enjoyed science in school, you're possibly not going to enjoy psychology because of the way it's delivered and the way it is treated in that sense as a science. And English language, obviously, as an A-level, there is a big element of writing, note taking, and with the 3 exams, obviously, you need to have that strength there with your written abilities as well. So the type of learners that suit the subject, generally I'd say any. The course is so varied that it will suit people that prefer practical to theory, to people that are really good at writing essays, to people that actually are better at structured questions. It suits a variety of different people. Obviously, it is 100% exam based, so there is no coursework, so that is something to consider. It is worth taking at this college. We do the OCR spec, and I know a lot of other places in the area do different specifications now. And the unique thing about the spec that we offer is You will do research methods, you'll do your 20 pieces of core research, and then in your second year, you'll study mental health in depth. You'll also study child psychology and environmental psychology. We don't do the forensic psychology option because a lot of our students also take criminology as well. So we don't really want to double up too much. So do have a look at that, have a look at the different options that are offered with different colleges if you're looking elsewhere as well. Look at the different kinds of specialisms that you might like to do. So if, for example, you want to go into education, you might want to do child psychology, which we offer here. If you want to go into marketing or business, environmental psychology has a lot of occupational psychology within it, a lot of business well-being psychology within it. So that's something that might shape your decision. Personally, I'm an examiner. I've examined psychology for several years. So I do have that background, that expertise that I can offer students. I've also helped to actually deliver the OCR resources. So I would say that with regards to OCR in our spec, I'm a very confident teacher with that syllabus. At the college, we also offer enrichment, and I'll talk about that later. So that might be something that's unique to us at Richard Taunton. Other courses subject that worked well with, I've mentioned criminology. Lots of our students do sociology as well. Lots of my students do a science, so biology, applied science. I've got a few students that do maths as well. So I would say those do tend to blend very, very nicely. But most other subjects will as well. Psychology is in everything. It's in every subject. It's in every behaviour. So I don't think there's a subject that it doesn't really belong with as such. Okay. Okay, so 5 key topics that you will explore in psychology. As you can see on the slide here, you look at 20 different what we call core studies. Now, these are pieces of research that have been conducted by famous psychologists, and they are notorious pieces of research for different reasons. Some of them have had a massive impact on the real world, and some of them have been quite controversial. So one example is a study that we look at that reviews intelligence testing that was conducted in the First World War. And these tests were so biased, they were racist, they were completely invalid measures of intelligence. They were so bad that at the time they were used as a measure of whether people should be admitted into the United States. They were used as part of their immigration policy. And because of these tests, then that drove a lot of the sort of political agenda at the time and actually led to people being told they couldn't emigrate into the United States from Europe. And obviously those people would have gone back to face the Holocaust in the Second World War. So these pieces of research have had a massive impact, either in a negative way like that one or a positive way. So one study we look at in memory looks at eyewitness testimony, and it's the research that we study that has actually changed the way eyewitnesses are interviewed in court. So those are just 2 examples, and these studies cover a range of different topics. So we look at 5 different areas in psychology. Biological, so we look at the brain and how your brain can adapt. We also look at left and right hemispheres and how they can change your behaviour and they communicate with each other. So the spinning lady on the slide, if you can see her turning clockwise, then that would indicate that you're right brain dominant. And if you can see her turning anti-clockwise, then that would indicate you're left brain dominant. And if you can see her going both ways, well done, because I've been trying for 14 years and I still can't. And that would basically say that you are dominant in both hemispheres. So we study what that maybe means. And we also look at obedience, social psychology. We look at moral development, so that links to child psychology a little bit as well. And we also look at psychopathy in the second year and understanding how psychopaths think and talk differently to non-psychopaths. So we then look at research methods in psychology. So you will learn how to conduct research, experiments, questionnaires, observations. In a normal year, we would normally get you going out around college and doing this. Obviously, this year we're having to do things slightly differently, which is a challenge, but we're We're finding our way. And throughout all of that, you're collecting your own data, you're analysing your own data, and then you're discussing what the data shows. So that's where the mathematics comes in. And then in your second year, this is where you specialise in applied psychology. So we look at mental health and various issues within it. We look at explanations of disorders, and we also look at treatments of disorders. And we then go on to look at child psychology, and there are 6 different topics in here, and you'll learn various things from intelligence to the impact of advertising on children and how it can perpetuate negative stereotypes. We also look at things to do with perceptual development, so that picture in the top of the slide there, how your eyes can be tricked into thinking things are further away than they actually are. We actually look at how that develops in children. And then lastly, environmental psychology. So again, you'll have 6 topics here, and you will learn various different things. We look at the role of sleep and the role of sleep disruption, especially with shift work. We look at well-being in workspaces to do with personalisation and being able to express your identity. We look at personal space, the effects of living in an urban environment. So there's various different topics in that one. I love environmental psychology and I love the mental health topic. So year 2 is a particular favourite of mine. So 5 skills developed in psychology are probably similar to what you might find in a lot of the other A-level subjects, things like evaluation, critical thinking. But if I just sort of explain a little bit behind these particular skills. So with every piece of research that you look at, and even every piece of research you design, you have to evaluate it. You have to be able to think critically and think about the strengths and weaknesses of that research. We learn a lot of different issues and debates in psychology, things like free will, whether research is sensitive to society. We look at the nature-nurture debate, and various things to do with psychology as a science. So all of those debates come into play with evaluation, and a lot of the marks that are awarded in your exams are down to evaluation. So that's a skill that you will build naturally in the subject. It's something that we will teach, and you will gradually get better at it as the 2 years go on. So linked to that is obviously the critical thinking, because you'll be constantly evaluating, you'll constantly develop that ability to think outside the box and to think critically about things. You will learn how to design research. So certainly if you want to go into some kind of design field within university, any scientific field, any social science field, then that is invaluable experience. So it doesn't just have to be a psychology degree. Research skills themselves are important in lots of different fields. So even if you want to go into marketing or advertising, you still have to do market research, for example. So research skills are really valuable. Application skills. So a big part of psychology is being able to apply it to the real world, not just to learn what has been conducted, but to then say, okay, how can we use this to improve society? And I think that skill, more than anything, is something you can take into your own life. You can go home and be able to actually start watching movies, and you'll never stop applying the psychology to them. It becomes very annoying. You can start applying it to things going on in your real life. It helps you start understanding why it is that people do things that you find annoying. Why is it that people don't remember the important things that you do? And you'll learn why, and you'll be able to apply all of that to your everyday life. And of course, data analysis, as we've said already, big part of psychology is being able to interpret data. So it's certainly transferable for any scientific mathematical based course career later on as well. Okay, so enrichment opportunities at the college. Obviously this year we're sort of having to take a little bit of a back seat with some of these, not all of them, because of the current situation and the ability to go places and do these things. But generally, historically, we tend to have a couple of main enrichment opportunities that occur within the college, within the course. So the first one here is Behind Bars Conference, and you will take part in this at the college if you are a psychology, sociology, law or criminology student. And That is where ex-convicts will come in, and they will talk to you about their time in prison. They will talk to you about the justice system. They will talk to you about punishments and get you involved. It's an interactive day, whether you think the punishment system's fair. So although with psychology we don't do the forensic unit, a lot of what these guys talk about on that day links to the topics you study. And it's wonderful enrichment because I know a lot of students go on to want to do something within the criminal psychology field. So we've had various different ex-convicts that come in. Remember, all these guys have served their time, and now they're trying to give back in a way and help educate people, help people talk about the realities of prison and the realities of the justice system. So that is an amazing day. I've been attending it for probably 10 years plus, and every year I find it fascinating myself. You hear a lot of stories, you find out a lot of things that you would never think about. You realise that crime is not just black and white, but there is a lot of grey area, and there's a lot that we as psychologists, criminologists, etc., can do to improve the justice system as well. The other thing that we do tend to do every year, again, we're not able to do it this year, is we do tend to go to Marlborough Zoo, normally around November time, and we take part in Animal Observation Day. So this is really good enrichment for those data analysis skills. What better way to practice data analysis than to go and look at meerkats for an hour? So we go for a whole day, and the students get the opportunity to learn a bit more about animal observation specifically. So they get given lectures. It's an interactive day, so they can go and do some interactive observations, and then they get let to go around the park itself, the zoo, sorry, and they are allowed to do an observation on an animal of their choice. And then I think I've put the last one here, active research, because it is a big part of psychology. You know, we will do class experiments and things like that, but we'll be actively encouraging you to go out and observe the things that you have studied, to go and conduct a questionnaire as enrichment to further your own understanding of people's personalities, of people's behaviour types. So I think it's a big part of psychology, and it goes beyond the classroom, and that's why I think I've put it here as part of your enrichment. Okay, so the last thing really to talk to you about is progression. And really, our students tend to go in very, very different directions with psychology. The options that are here are by no means a restrictive list. Um, Various different careers, various different universities and different courses that our students have gone on to do. Obviously, some of them have gone on to study psychology. A lot of them go on to do forensic investigations or forensic studies. We have a lot of students that actually go on to do law as well. Nursing, certainly. Youth work, social work, education. So quite a few that have gone on to be teachers. Biochemistry, biomedical sciences. So lots of different university courses, and like I say, that's definitely not a restrictive list, because psychology does blend into so many different subjects. Career options, so there are varied. You won't be a psychologist if you do an undergraduate degree, but it certainly is a good stepping stone to moving on to a doctorate program to become a psychologist if you want to go down the clinical psychology route. Counselling is certainly a career option, and you don't need a degree to be a counsellor. You can do a diploma. So having psychology as an A-level is a really good background for that, and I can speak from personal experience there. It really helped me. Nursing, as I said already, a lot of our students do go on to nursing, and any sort of medical degree like nursing does have psychological elements within it. Forensic psychology, neuropsychology, occupational psychology, occupational therapy. There's so many different career options. Business, marketing, advertising, everything has psychology in it. A lot of psychological theories like Maslow's hierarchy, it's rooted in psychology. It's a psychological concept, but it's used in business. It's used in hostage negotiation. So the career options are really endless, because psychology is such a broad subject and such a varied subject. Okay, so I think that's everything I have to say to you. Apologies for the sort of slightly different style. I hope it's been informative, and I hope it's answered some of your questions about psychology. Of course, if it hasn't, if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask, then please just get in touch with the college. And if there's a specific question about psychology, they can forward it on to me or my colleague Paula. And if you've just got any questions about the course, the structure, some specific information about content, please feel free to email us. Support at the college is always available. Obviously, things are working slightly differently this year, but we are always available to answer questions on email. We use Google Classroom, so all the resources we put on there. Textbooks are in the classrooms, and we can always recommend textbooks to buy if you want to, but you certainly don't have to. And we also supply you with work booklets, so a lot of the work that you actually do will be done in a work booklet itself. So please do have a look at the prospectus for any further information for the course, and I hope to see you next September. Thank you very much. Bye.